The folks we work with are probably the most vulnerable people that we see within the employment department. These are folks who have a lot of barriers. Language barriers is number one, and they're ripe for being abused. Sometimes there's situations where you just want to throw your hands up and say, wow, this is 2019. And, unfortunately, sometimes those populations are not considered people.
And they get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And if they have a family, they take them to the babysitter. And they're waiting there to get a job.
Most families earn less than $15,000 a year. That's an average for a migrant seasonal farm worker family. A lot of people don't realize that these are the folks who pick our food. We see them on the street every day, and I don't think they're given the credit for the work they do.
We do a lot of outreach, go out, meet the workers on the work site, help them out if they need any resources in the community. The most important role is we help them find a job.
Most of them, they are excited about the services that they don't know. It's just when we go out and explain how our services and the magnificent about the resources, classes, education, training opportunities, career exploration, job placement. So we make a big differences in somebody else's life.
We provide that population when they first come into Oregon with their basic rights and their contractual obligations and the employer's information about what they can and can't do under that contract. That's the reason this program exists, because without it, these people would still be living in the shadows. And all the MSFW reps, we take this very personal because a lot of us come from that background.
Basically, I just introduce myself and just be myself. I joke around. How can I help you? What is it that you've had troubles or barriers?
Going out to the field is sometimes challenging. Sometimes you're not always welcome. A lot of the times they're being paid piece rate, and you don't want to interrupt their work. Sometimes, trespassing prevents us from actually making those connections. Sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere. You can see the workers, you can see the office. Sometimes they're gated, they close the gates. There may be phone numbers for you to call. Sometimes they don't answer.
Most migrants do not work 8 to 5. As soon as the sun's up, we got to be up there with them. We go out in the fields, we're talking to 200-300 people in back of a pickup. An employer who has a need and cannot find local help will work with us at the employment department to try to recruit, and if they cannot recruit the needed workers, then the federal government will allow them to go through the application process to bring workers from out of the country. We as an employment department know that without them, of course, the farm workers are not going to be employed, so we have to treat them with the same respect and the same services that are available to anybody else. We also train the employer community. We have workshops for them. So that creates an opening for us to be able to talk to the workers. We also let them know that they need to be taken into town to buy groceries. They need to be taken to town to be able to send their money home. We do the inspections also for their housing on a yearly basis. We're not there to ding an employer. We want to also build that reputation that we're there to assist the employer. It could simply be your bathrooms are dirty. You don't have enough bathrooms for the amount of people you have working.
There's pretty large discrepancies in how housing is provided and also just kind of the different environments. Some people will adhere to the basic rules that we require for the housing, and it'll pass, but it'll be very minimal, basic, kind of like the fundamentals of what's needed to be able to be approved. And then we have other employers that will have housing that's really up to code and also beyond and above that.
I had a gentleman who I worked with who was a farm worker, and he had just got a job painting mobile homes. So that was going to be his first job out of agriculture. So we worked with him to see if he could take the entrance exam to go to a trend college. He finished the class and he became one of the top students, and he went to work directly from when the day he got a certificate for a company that made computers. At this point in time, he is in charge of a national chain under the IT programs. But the greatest success story is two children. He's got one son and a daughter. One of them is an engineer, and his son, he's got dual degrees. To this day, you know, every time I see him, he still goes, "Where would I be?" You know, and there's so many talented people out there who we still don't reach.
Even if you just went to do an outreach and you talk to somebody about the services that the WorkSource Oregon Employment Department offers, and they were so happy to hear about that they come to the office for services, I think that's a success. You don't have to have a huge story to be successful. Little things are successful. Even if you sign them up for a class and they come to the class, that's a success.
I've been employed with the state of Oregon for almost 29 years, and I've held various positions, but the most rewarding job of all is what I'm still doing, the Migrant Seasonal Farm Worker Program.
To me, it's rewarding. They know that when they do have a need, that there's somebody that they're going to be able to connect with and reach out to them and say, I am facing this right now, I don't know where to go, or I'm not sure, but I think I can trust you. I'm calling you, can you help me? And that is very important to me.
The most rewarding part of my job is when someone comes to the office and says, I got hired. That really makes me happy. And knowing that someone is about to change their lives because now they'll have food on the table to provide for their family.
That's what I'm here for. This is why I live. It makes me happy. Even though I want to cry, but it makes me really, really happy. My dad was a migrant seasonal farm worker. He would come from Mexico, make his money here, and then go back to Mexico every year. So my mother took me out to the field for one day to work alongside her at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was a very good, intensive understanding of what she went through every single day to bring money to the house and food to the table, because she had to cook after that. She told me, so, do you want to continue doing this type of work? Did you enjoy it? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, you need to get an education if you don't want to do this.
Well, I speak Spanish. I am an attorney from my country, home country, Colombia.
I come from that background. We came here to harvest strawberries in the 70s originally, and we've been here since.
I'm originally from Panama, speak Spanish, so I think that's so important when you're making a connection with the workers in the field. I come from a farm worker background. I was raised by my parents who were farm workers. They're not anymore, but we still have family members that are. And that's how I was brought up to the culture.
Most of us end our career within this position. It's that rewarding, yeah.